first in yards per route run versus zone coverage, first in first downs per route, and targets per route run against zone coverage in the NFL. This is a different player. This is a guy who's taken his game to another level this year.
When they needed one and they threw to Puka, he got you one.
Look at the release.
There's your separation.
Great route.
Stutter and go. Gets by clean.
That is unbelievable.
Maybe the greatest catch I've ever seen.
What about zone coverage? Who we got?
Best wide receiver, most productive wide receiver against zone coverage this season is Rams wide receiver Puka Nacua, who, if you remember, I also gave an honorable mention to in the man coverage category. So pretty freaking good wide receiver here for Puka Nacua to get honorable mention in man coverage and then obviously win the zone coverage award. First in yards per route run versus zone coverage, first in first downs per route, and targets per route run against zone coverage in the NFL. First, just in terms of like these man coverage statistics. These zone coverage statistics, he was absolutely unbelievable. He's 16.76 in terms of first down percentage on his routes against zone coverage. The second place player, who ironically is his teammate Tutu Atwell, is 12.7. So pretty decent gap there for Puka Nacua down to the second place player. We talked about this a lot on the show, James. There's a video of it people can check out on YouTube as well. We definitely think, and it was apparent, I don't know what, like 2 weeks into him being back from that injury, that oh shit, like this is a different player. This is a guy who's taken his game to another level this year. Already a great player in year one when he broke rookie records. This past season, it was apparent right away that, we highlighted at the beginning, Puka Nacua is coming up a lot, and he's not done coming up in this episode, by the way. He's coming up a lot here because we talk about how good he was underneath. He was the honorable mention player in that category. Honestly, could have won that category if we're being real. He's great against man coverage. He's great against zone coverage. But it's that stuff like down the field, the big plays that really showed you, okay, this is a guy that isn't just like a underneath guy and breaking tackles after the catch. It's the downfield route running. It's the downfield ball winner mentality that he's got right now. He's really, like I said, risen to. He's another guy that I think is clearly a tier 1 receiver in the NFL.
Hey, listen, if we're going to do the whole, patting myself on the back about Alex Pierce, I got to call myself out on Puka Nacua as well. While I liked Puka Nacua, while I certainly said, Puka Nacua is a good player, I had concerns that we had maybe seen the best of Puka Nacua, even at such a early part of his career. And I think to your point, Matt, that was 100% wrong. I don't know what he did this offseason, but he added to his already very impressive game. I thought he looked better this year than he did last year. I thought he did more things this year than he did last year. And by the way, just in terms of like if you're going to play in a Sean McVay system, right? You know that he's going to cook you up looks that are going to get you open, right? And what you do with those looks, Puka did the absolute most you could do with those looks. But I felt like this year, and tell me if you think I'm off base here, but I just felt like this year when he had to make ISO plays, I thought he made more ISO plays this year than he did last year. That's why I was more impressed with his season this year than last year, because it wasn't just schematic cooking up stuff from the chef Sean McVay. Right? It's like, nah, it's not. It is that stuff that he's also maximizing because yards after the catch and all that kind of stuff. But damn, dude, like when they needed one and they threw to Puka, he got you one, and I thought that was really impressive this year.
Yeah, when we get to the conversation about who's the best overall wide receiver, that theme of like, you are creating the plays is what I think makes the best wide receiver in the NFL. Like the best guys, the tier 1 players are players that create plays on their own. And I think that last year, to your point, the scale of created plays to plays that Puka created were much more weighed heavily towards the plays that were created. And he was there's a thing that, look, like you can create touches for guys, you can create space plays. But, and I mean, this is not disrespectful to him to say this, or, like when we talk about rookies and like Malik Neighbors, like there's a lot of plays created for guys like that, but then they maximize those touches because they can do shit with them when the ball, with the ball's in their hands. And you saw a lot of that for Puka Nacua in year one. what I think you saw more in year 2 was the balance sort of tip, I think maybe almost in favor of plays created by the player, where just like you said, ISO ball stuff. Hey, you're the number 1 receiver in this concept, and we're just going to throw you an outbreaking route along the sideline, and you're going to win in tight coverage. It's maybe going to just be that key shot that Matthew Stafford likes to take, where it's open by just a little bit, and Stafford's going to rip it to you. There was a lot more of those plays in year 2 than in year 1.
All right, so it dovetails very nicely into the best ball winner.
We got to do honorable mentions for
my
zone
bad. Yeah, let's
coverage
go.
Yeah,
Let's go.
Honorable mentions for zone coverage. I mean, Jamar Chase, the Triple Crown winner's got to come up here somewhere. He is the honorable mention player for zone coverage. Number 2 in yards per route run against zone coverage. He was incredibly effective at creating both big plays, short plays, compiling plays against zone. We talked about this a lot in the offseason, that there was going to be a concerted effort this year to move Jamar Chase around the formation and play multiple positions, play more slot reps than ever before in his career so that he could get more opportunities against zone coverage, and that was brought to fruition. Number 2 honorable mention here is Amon-Ra St. Brown, who is number 2 in successful targets per route run against zone coverage. He's been one of the best zone beaters in the league since he broke out in his late rookie season for the Detroit Lions. And then number 3, I'll bring up Jaden Reed again, man. I mean, efficiency metrics against zone coverage are bonkers. He's 3rd behind Puka Nacua, Jamar Chase in yards per route run against zone coverage. I imagine that the step they want to see him take is to be, I think he can beat more man coverage. I think he beats man coverage better than almost all of the other receivers from a consistency standpoint. I'd like to see him just get thrown the football more on those plays.
86% catch rate in zone coverage for Jaden Reed, 4th best among qualified wide receivers, according to Next Gen Stats. You talk about a 145 passer rating when throwing to Jaden Reed in zone coverage. That's the best mark in the NFL. 648 yards and 4 touchdowns. Now, those aren't going to blow you away, the overall, volume numbers there. But shoot, man, again, just in terms of efficiency, Jaden Reed certainly is right there. I did want to talk about Jamar Chase as well, because, again, I know he has not won an award yet, okay? But golly, against zone coverage, dude was incredibly effective, as Matt laid out. But I'll give you some of the raw numbers here. 1264 through the air versus zone coverage this year for Jamar Chase. 10 touchdowns versus zone coverage this year for Jamar Chase. That is by far number 1 in the NFL. So Jamar Chase against zone was absolutely crushing it this year.